And what can I say? Well, what can I say except you're welcome? You get another dose of my guy, Drew Gluchov. Listen, we talked about the age of how long we've been doing stuff together. Former student of the game panelist, current member of the Sons of UCF. I hope you give Trace Trelko all the hard time I demand of you with his Texas Tech initials. But Drew Gluchov, welcome in, sir.
Always a pleasure to be here, Kyle.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Listen, I mean, if it's between, I should ask the audience between you or Matt Murschel who they have more fun getting college football intelligence from. But that's a future thing for a social media element of another time.
I don't hold a candle to Matt Murschel, man. His bond knowledge puts him on another level that I cannot compete with.
His bond knowledge, that's true. Yeah, we don't want to say his bondage. They may get the wrong idea.
Whoa there, Tiger.
No judgment if he is into that. I don't. Anyways, no. Obviously, bad shouts to friend of the show, Matt Murschel. But we got you on the show here. I didn't want to bring in Matt for this directly yet because he's a Heisman Trophy voter, and I think at this point he's allowed to talk about what he may or may not have voted in it. But let's put that off from him. I'll get it from the lion's mouth at another juncture. But for you. You don't have a Heisman vote yet, so we could talk all the trash we want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got this guy gets it. But yeah, listen, it all went down in New York. We had the 4 finalists, right? Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, Marvin Harrison. I'm forgetting somebody.
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. How did I nix Bo? See, I just wanted to do the pun the whole time. What can I say?
Is this thing on?
What can I say except you're welcome? Anyways, no, listen.
Back.
Of the 4 candidates, first of all, I'll ask this. Did the writers get this one right, Drew?
I'm not a big fan of the Heisman. I think it's a glorified popularity contest personally. I like some of the other awards like the Maxwell, the Bednarik, and all those. But I think they got this one right. And the only reason why is Jaden Daniels athletically is a step above Penix and Nix. I mean, this guy set an NCAA record of something that hadn't been done before. Over 300 yards passing, over 200 yards rushing in the single game. I mean, that's a one-man wrecking crew. Mm-hmm. And you have to recognize that God-given talent that he has. I mean, you could talk about how great Bo Nix is as a quarterback or Michael Penix is as a quarterback, but we know there's a quarterback bias with the Heisman, and to see kind of a less than traditional quarterback get it is, in my opinion, a step in the right direction. I am not a fan that quarterbacks have such a heavy bias in the Heisman.
Oh, it ain't just the Heisman. I mean, listen, at some point here, I already did earlier in the year on the Student of the Game podcast with my guy, Mike Bernier, talking about quarterback bias in the NFL's awards. So that's not just college centric, but I think it's a gripe every college fan, football fan has. So yeah, you make a point there. And I'll even add to this, to just so nobody thinks you're being a Buckeye homer. I would have taken Marvin Harrison had the Buckeyes won. Unfortunately, well, for me personally, I think too much is put into the team's performance as well, but that's another question too. But I got Marvin Harrison ahead of Jaden Daniels. I'll put it that way. And the point you make about him being a non-traditional quarterback is well stated. I'm not here to say that he had no right to be in New York. I'm not here to say that I'm openly flipping tables that Jaden Daniels won it. I am a little frustrated that the guy I think actually deserved it was also the guy I predicted in August that would get it in Michael Penix had Caleb Williams collapse, which he kind of did. I'll put collapse in air quotes because he's still probably going to be the top NFL pick, right? But I don't Marvin Harris, to me, here's how it would shake out. Here's my top 4. If I had a vote, it would go thus: Michael Penix, Marvin Harrison Jr., Bo Nix, and Jaden Daniels. And the reason why I put Bo Nix is that Oregon program was kind of in trouble, it felt like, coming into this year, and then Bo Nix kind of revitalized them. And I think you mentioned the talent of the particular athlete, and I get it's an individual award, but what I also feel like happened, Drew, is a lot, and I'm not saying you did this, let me be clear. I feel like too many voters look at stats and, just stake a flag in the name that has the ones that they think look the best. The fact that people doubted Michael Penix and the Washington Huskies throughout the year, and they still managed to they still managed to get in the damn college football playoff as the number 2 team in the nation for all the ish that was talked nationally. I don't see how you don't give it to Penix. But the points you make about the natural talent that Daniel has, if you're more individually focused rather than the concept of do they make the team around them better, like Marvin Harrison Jr. does, that's kind of where I look at it in that light too. What would you add to that, Drew?
Well, I mean, you talk about Michael Penix. You talk about how the rest of the team kind of helps build the player. It's no secret that this was the closest Biletnikoff Award, which is for the nation's top wide receiver, vote that they've ever had. It was a 1-point difference between Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors from LSU. So they're the 2 top wide receivers. That's actually my dig against Harrison.
I say you just made that's a big part of what I'm saying. Exactly.
Well, no, but that's my dig against Harrison in the realm of the Heisman. I want him to win, not because he's Ohio State and I'm a born and raised Buckeye, but I wanted to see a non-quarterback win. I knew he didn't have the resume to do it because he didn't set himself apart compared to, say, Malik Neighbors. They were neck and neck, and I think the how close the Biletnikoff Award voting went was just showed how Harrison was viewed one way versus Neighbors. I think maybe because Harrison didn't have as good of a quarterback. Kyle McCord is not Jaden Daniels. I mean, not even close.
Shouldn't that be a factor, though? That's my whole point. Like,
it can be a factor, but that actually hurts the argument against Michael Penix. Look at Michael Penix when he didn't have a strong supporting cast. His time in Indiana, his stats were pedestrian at best. Then you're put into a Washington program, which has actually been pretty good. Over the last handful of years, you've had some decent quarterbacks come out there. Browning and Jake Locker. These guys who
do we want to count Jake Locker? No, I don't. But I see what you're saying. Yeah.
He made it to the NFL. That's correct. More than most guys get to do.
Absolutely.
Obviously, NFL quarterback, college quarterback, you can be successful in one and fail miserably the other, not necessarily the same. But he had a much stronger supporting cast. I mean, you can make this as a better argument for Bo Nix because, as you said, Oregon was struggling. They had to revamp themselves, new coaching staff. I mean, they had to really change things up, and Bo Nix was part of that equation. So I think the team aspect actually helps Nix's campaign more than it did Penix's campaign. But the fact that Washington beat Oregon not once but twice, I think really set one apart from the other, even though they both had outstanding games.
And you did notice I also had Bo Nix ahead of Jaden Daniels too. And the point you make about the Biletnikoff Award winner, granted, I'm not super familiar with Oregon staff to know how much Bo Nix was elevated, but this is a guy that was a big deal in another program and came to a new program and did what you said. A team that I've argued throughout the year, by the way, that should have been ranked higher, than Florida State throughout the duration. But enough about how much the ACC sucks. Let's move on.
I do want to throw one thing out there. Michael Penix did win the Maxwell Award. Which is one of those top offensive player awards. So, I mean, it's not like he didn't get any hardware, but aside from the Heisman, the Associated Press Player of the Year Award, the Davey O'Brien, which is the top quarterback award, the Johnny Unitas Award, all of them went to Jaden Daniels. So, and these are all individual organizations that are voting at the same time. So these people don't know how these other awards are voting.
Right.
I'm not an official voter on a poll, but as part of the Football Writers Association, I do get to throw names in the hat for a few of these awards, including the All-American, the FWA All-American, the Outland Award. So these things are all going on side by side. So the fact that they all said the same thing, largely, I think actually gives credibility to the Heisman vote. They followed a similar trend.
Do you think that Michael Penix being on the West Coast was an impact?
I don't think it's so much on the West Coast. I think it's the fact that I think it's more of a credit to Daniels and what he did. Because let's be honest, that LSU team is not as good as the Washington team top to bottom, even though they have a better star wide receiver.
Well, how much of that is the defense too, though? Let's. Well,
that's what I mean. That's perfect. They're flat out just not a better team than Washington is as a whole, and I think that helped Daniels in the fact that he had to elevate. He basically had to carry the team more than had a lot other helpers, on their team. Does that make sense to you?
It does. So then what I hear you saying though is the Bolitnikoff Award that you mentioned with Neighbors.
Neighbors.
Yeah, thank you. I lost his name right there. But yeah, that you mentioned there, you're kind of taken away from that. Rather than taking credit away from guys, let me ask you this way then. Is Neighbors' success based on Jaden Daniels or vice versa?
That's going to be speculated till forever. You're going to have to wait and see how they transition on Sunday or play away from each other to be able to really answer that question.
Yeah, that's a fair response. Let me ask the point blank question on this then. If you had a Heisman vote, I told you the order of my four, I'm going to refuse to let you sit on the fence or on the bench or however you want to put it. And I will make no Buckeye jokes. I've gotten that out of my system. How would you have ranked the top four?
Well, as I said, I wanted Harrison to win, but I knew he wasn't going to because of the bias.
Listen, I'm really glad he made the top four. And I say this as somebody who has been in years previous critical of your Buckeyes, right?
Well, it's not even about the team. It's about the player.
Right.
And it's the fact that a non-quarterback got to sit at, in a seat on the stage, be interviewed, and then be one of those final four guys on camera as they read the winner off. That matters. Will Anderson, if you remember from Alabama.
We got to see him. We got to see him make the disappointed face, and there's honor in that.
Yes. Yes. Everyone deserves their Michaela Maroney moment. Yeah. the disappointing look. But no, my top four, I would have put Daniels, Harrison, Penix, Nix. And the reason why Daniels was just athletically just completely dynamic. Harrison had the worst of the quarterbacks working with him in Kyle McCord. Penix had the best true season out of a more pure quarterback, and Nix had a better support cast, in my opinion. And I think had less. He made more mistakes, and I think that made the difference. You can't beat Washington head to head twice. The second time is usually the time you get them. Kansas State and TCU, it happened with them. We've seen it happen in the SEC multiple times, like 2017. That Auburn Tigers team beat Georgia in the regular season and then got trounced by Georgia in the SEC championship game. Happens all the time where it's hard to beat the team second time around. UCF Tulane 2022. It's hard to beat the team twice in a row. And Washington did it. And as a result, Penix gets the bump.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If they had split and Oregon was the conference champion, it sounds like you would have put Bo Nix ahead of Michael Penix.
Not necessarily. It really depends on how things kind of went. Like if Penix wet the bed and just had a bad game, that may be enough to push.
If he goes full Caleb Williams.
Oh yeah, I probably would have swapped them because they both had great seasons. But at the end of the day, you got to win the big game, and those two are so similar that you needed something to set them apart. And as opposed to Jaden Daniels, who's just a different type of quarterback. I actually think Daniels is not built to make it in the NFL. I think
I agree with that, by the way.
But that doesn't matter here. This is all about college. So, these awards are not based on, is this guy going to be a better fit on Sunday? I think
the most pro-worthy player is Marvin Harrison. I don't think anybody's going to debate that of these 4 players. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Aside from pedigree, Harrison is primed to have a great pro career. Now, the real question is, does he enter the draft or not? Because he's still tossing it up in the air.
That's very interesting. And in the world of NIL, guys are more likely to stay that time, which more than just makes for a fantastic segue to kind of the next thing I wanted to jump into as well. And listen, I'll give my guy Joel Klatt the credit, and rightly so, that we get to this topic. Like, we know that transfers are profuse in college football. There's no surprise there. They've had a lot. There's, the unfortunate thing with it, Drew, is that the public sees the successes, but you don't hear a whole lot about those dudes that transfer and then just kind of disappear. Like, for a UCF example, in our coverage last year for the Black and Gold Banneret Together before you went to the Suns, we were talking. Oh yeah, bing! Thank you, Drew. Before you went to the Suns, there, Bentavious Thompson comes to mind as a dude that had the opportunity. I thought he would have an opportunity to just absolutely tear things up, but went to the transfer portal, and I think we basically never heard from him again.
Well, he ended up going to Texas A&M. Oh no, yeah, I'm thinking of Quindarian Richardson. Went to Texas A&M and disappeared. You're right. Bentavious Thompson just kind of vanished. Now, here's the thing: the portal was designed for players like take a Demarius Good, for instance, or a Trillion Coles. Low guy on the totem pole, was never going to be a star.
You mean Cam Good? Guy from Michigan, or
no? Demarius, former running back.
Okay, we got. It's all good here. So see what I did there. Anyway,
so you're looking at these guys down at the bottom end of the roster.
Yes.
What a lot of people don't realize: scholarships are 1-year agreements. They have to be renewed. And schools used to say, you know what? We're not renewing your scholarship. We're giving it to somebody else. And there was no recourse for the player. He had, it was really hard to transfer because there was no place to advertise that you're available. And so a lot of guys just faded away, never to be seen again. They finished their degree at the school and then just move on. They never got to really play. So the portal opened, those players got a chance to be noticed and were able to start moving around. What really made things go out the window is how unregulated the NIL landscape is. I mean, we see it on Twitter, players basically saying, I'll stay if I get paid.
Yeah, in so many words. And we all know that the NIL is for name, image, and likeness, sure, but how much they actually
But it's not. Most of this stuff is pay to play, which is technically not legal, but there's no enforcement to it. So, enter Charlie Baker.
There you go. I was going to ask you.
NCAA president who decided, and this is why they hired him. People poo-pooed the hire originally. This is why they did it.
This is why they poo-pooed it, or this is why they hired him? Or
people poo-pooed it because they thought, it's just a politician. He's going to try to chum me up Washington, people in Washington. While true, there's other reasons. And part of it is, when was the last time you ever saw the NCAA come up with an idea that was at all forward-thinking? Has it happened in your lifetime?
Buddy, listen, let me tell you, the Jeopardy theme wouldn't give me enough time to come up with some of that, okay?
Exactly. So Baker's idea of using the NCAA to create a new subdivision that would have these schools put into a trust that would end up paying these players. So now you have the ability for the NCAA to regulate it. It can be part of their compliance.
And by the way,
there's oversight.
Right. And Title IX is still tied into it as well. So
Title IX is still enforced. There has to be equal opportunity and balance as far as the number of people. And
I think I read on Yahoo Sports too that it's still supposed to be 50%, but that's a whole other question.
It's supposed to be 50-50 overall. That's why you normally see more women's sports than men's sports, because football takes up so many scholarships.
That's correct. Right.
This would fall in the same bucket. Now, what needs to be worked on is, do dollars have to be the same? This is still a ways down the road. There's still a lot of moving parts to work out. This is still just a proposal. There's still a lot we don't know.
Oh, yeah. To
So
keep this, I know we've been football centric here. This is a thought I just had at the top of my head, and maybe it's because of my bias or comfort level in covering UCF basketball and what we've seen from Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese last year. Even though that kerfluffle was ridiculous, both of those ladies handled it with grace, and I think it was a big PR boost for college women's basketball. One could think, with Title IX being attached to this, that women's basketball in particular, which is growing in popularity, gets another big bump if they're able to start, paying for athletes, right?
Well, yeah, at least $30,000 per athlete.
Right. I couldn't remember the number. Thank you.
It's 30,000 is the magic number. Say you got 300 athletes. There's $9 million right there.
A
lot of schools are like, how do we pay for this? But I'll tell you what, who actually in the best position to handle this change? UCF, Houston, Cincinnati, and Brigham Young.
Because they're just about to get an injection.
They've been working on a bare bones budget for years,
right,
to adapt to taking part of money they've never had before,
right,
to invest into a trust fund would actually be less damaging to them than these other schools that have been basically primed to work on a much larger budget. They would actually probably have to scale back or find ways to raise money. The key to this is to take the financial burden off the boosters and put it on the school so that there's oversight. Because right now, you remember Tennessee got in trouble for delivering money in a McDonald's bag. It's essentially still going on. It's just no one can stop it now. But the pay to play.
How long before the NIL? How long did you and I joke that the SEC was the best best college football money could buy? Right.
Ever since the Southwest Conference folded in the mid '90s, it's all about the SEC when it comes to that stuff.
But let me get you back on track. I made an aside there. Yeah. So, but putting the burden on the schools, like you talk about, to make it trackable.
Yeah, make it trackable. There's oversight because there's regulatory pieces. The NCAA has compliance so that they can actually see things. So you have a better record of money ins and money outs. What kind of reporting NIL collectives really have to do? None.
Yeah, Jack.
Just the basic financial requirements with the IRS. Other than that, there's no real oversight. It's the inmates running the asylum, and it's not a sustainable model.
Well, and I've posed this question on Night Shift with the black and gold banneret. Bing! What happens when the bottom falls out and the networks like the ESPNs, the CBSs, the Foxes, the Amazons, the whoever start seeing this? They start not getting return on their investment. The bottom falls out with all the money. Like we've already talked about ESPN hemorrhaging money, and that being a big reason why they've jettisoned so many big talents. What then? Like I get worried about the solvency long term of this model. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think the big question mark is how effective is the new ESPN a la carte plan that they're planning on putting out, I think in 2025, going to work. If it works out, it's a lifeline, and it keeps things alive. They can keep doing what they're doing. If it stumbles, you're still getting the cord cutters, and you're not getting enough subscriptions on this new plan that allows the linear channels to go direct to the consumer. ESPN's in big trouble. They've already talked about selling parts of it to professional leagues for the infusion of cash. They've overspent on the SEC. There's a reason why the Big Ten walked. It's because there's not enough money to go around. They're overspending on the professional leagues. I mean, you're seeing these ridiculous amounts of money being thrown out. As a result, salaries are getting out of control. I mean, who needs a $700 million baseball contract? $70 million a year. Granted, 68 of it is deferred. That man's going to be getting paid for the rest of his life and then some.
Well, listen, Shohei Ohtani, the fact that I can say his name and know who it is and a little bit about him in baseball should tell you
your favorite sport.
Yeah, shut up. It's not a sport, first of all. Anyways, outside of Gluchov, but I say all that to say it's one thing to invest in him. I think it's another to hand a conference a blank check then they can go bring in whatever dogs they want to add into it. And now they got to there's too much volatility in college where Shohei Ohtani is going to be a name for some time. Maybe he gets hurt or something, maybe he doesn't. But I mean, the guy is contributing to baseball in more than one part of the game. Is this something we've seen since black and white on a regular basis? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, there have been a handful of players who it's not as masterful as Ohtani has.
That's my point. It's to that level. Like, I can say Shohei Ohtani and Babe Ruth in the same sentence, and people aren't going to get that mad at me. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but then you're going to say baseball sucks in the next sentence, and then they will.
Sure, but that's not what that's about. We're focusing on that first sentence.
The thing is, you look at $70 million. That's bigger than some team's payroll.
I mean, listen, it's not as big, but it's not as big as what Jimbo Fisher was paid to walk. That's my point.
Well, and that's dumbfounding in itself. I mean, we thought it was bad when Gus Malzahn was given over $20 million not to coach with no offset clause in there.
By the way, thanks for that, Auburn. That made it so easy.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have to coach. I mean, he does it because he enjoys it, but he doesn't have to work a day in his life now. But yeah, the whole Jimbo Fisher thing. I mean, Texas A&M stepped in it when they did the whole plaque thing, like the future national champion. I mean, to be honest, they deserve what happened to them.
You're right. Sure.
That is but like Shakespearean tragedy right there.
I would have said I would just think it would be a loser to the Darwin Award, but sure, we can go your way.
Well, we can call it business Darwinism. It certainly was not an evolved rule.
I like the compromise there. But listen, like this is where I'm at, though. He got $76 million. For all my fondness, my fondness for Coach Orgeron, LSU, go Tigers. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say go Tigers no more. Well, yeah, I am, because they're going to pay me like $50 million to walk. Like, I forget what his buyout was, but he, too, was joked. I said to him, he said, I forget exactly how the speech went. It's long enough ago now. But the guy basically said to him, hey, we're going to have to move another direction. And then Coach was like, okay. And he hands him the check to sign or whatever. That's the joke. Anyways, I don't think this is a literal.
It's not literally what happened.
It's not which door you want me to walk out of? Like,
but they reviewed the contract and stuff. So, I mean, it's not like,
right. But the point is, like, you have coaches of varying calibers. Sure. Did Coach O have the best statistical offensive college season in the nation of all time? Absolutely. Did anybody regard him as a coach on par with Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Lincoln Riley, any of these guys? No, they didn't. But he still got paid like that. Jimbo Fisher at one point may have been that high. That name has fallen for some time, and he damn sure is not worthy in the eyes of basically everybody in the college football space, worthy of a $76 million buyout. But that's my point. Shohei Ohtani is going to raise value for the MLB and the Dodgers, mostly the MLB, because, hey, LA's a big market. I get that, right? All of that's going to go on, and the Dodgers being one of the major franchises in baseball. Am I itching? What am I talking this much baseball for? No, but all that's obviously a good investment, whereas the volatility of college football, college sports, we'll just call it. I mean, damn it, the ACC alone and that BS that's about to go on and hasn't happened yet is still on the horizon. And the money that's been dumped into the college athletic space makes me worried about its stability. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that's partly why this subdivision idea is being tossed around. I mean, they want to, try and curtail this thing because, again, unsustainable. Texas A&M making that buyout, that was their choice. But let's be honest, Texas A&M is a cult. Have you seen how that program runs? It's a cult. I mean, it's a very strange place. They act like the best thing since sliced bread, and they haven't won a national championship in over 80 years.
So the national championship part, and I say this as a homer of the conference in question, they are a representation of the SEC. I get it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think they're worse.
Damn.
I think they're worse. Like Georgia fans, they at least recognize the fact that they had a 40-year drought. They kind of accepted it.
It's a process, is a way of life for them.
Yeah, it was until they started winning. It was a thing. A&M pretends like they're Texas with the results of Vanderbilt.
I was going to say the stepchild aspect there too. I'm glad you brought it up. Who now are conference mates, but that's a conversation.
I'm pretty sure A&M was not happy about that at all, considering they moved to get away from them.
I don't know. Anyways, at some point, man, listen, I know we're going to have you back when the ACC starts to fall apart, because I'm going to be curious about where Miami and Florida shake out in this whole thing. But listen, I know you got to go. Thanks for jumping in. We went on for 15 more minutes than I expected to with this segment, because there's just a lot to unpack with this particular topic. And I won't hold it against you that you picked Jaden Daniels because you, in fact, weren't a homer in your Heisman vote. Drew, tell the people where you could be out.
Oh, I thought it was because you said you were going to say because you actually gave a compelling argument, but I'll go with that.
I mean that too. No, it was a good take. You helped me buy it better than I did coming from my initial reaction. I'll put it.
Yeah,
back.
Don't let the talking heads tell you otherwise. Like they get fed what to say. Yeah.
This is why you're here, homie. You don't have that problem.
No, I'm terrible at listening to others. just ask my wife.
Started.
I know you can catch me on Twitter at StatBoyDrew. I'm currently writing for the Sons of UCF. We'll be near Kyle at somewhere in the room for the Gasparilla Bowl.
At least in the same car, if everything goes according to plan.
Yes, at least in the same car. So but still kicking around. We'll have some stuff coming up ahead of the bowl game, talking about the team and whatnot. Anyway, always a pleasure, Kyle, and you could do the rest of your shtick.
My shtick. Well, hey, listen, it's not that part yet. I'm going to talk to EJ Christian right after this, buddy. So thanks for having you aboard. I'm going to talk about an actual sport with EJ Christian here. It's called basketball.
Wait, college football is not an actual sport.
Stop it. I'm going to hit you with a stick. How about that? Anyways, honor, joy, and privilege to have you in, brother. Catch you next time.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Okay, and because I'm a glutton for punishment, let's do another repeat guest. You'll know him best for his efforts with working with Al Borland on Tool Time. Of course, give it up to my guy, everyone's horrible prediction master, EJ Christian. What's going on?
What's up, Kyle? Do with you every week on Huddle Up, do every week on my podcast, featured football season, of course, has been a really
so what I hear
fascinating
you
year.
saying is crawling back for more because you're a glutton for punishment. Okay,
absolutely, absolutely. You get it, man.
Yeah, no, I'll put it this way. We'll get into doing this week's NFL picks later on. I want to start with the sport that you allege to claim and are still inferior to me in analyzing, but yet here we are. I'm joking. Easy. Yeah, no, but with all that in, what was that?
It's a Cowboy fan too. Come on.
I won't even bring up your Irish fanhood either, but that's a whole other question. Anyways, listen, don't come to the battle of wits if you're unequipped, EJ Christian. Listen, first of all, I'm not going to go full homer because I'm not really a Magic fan. I just like to see them do well because the chances of me covering NBA playoff basketball is a pretty cool one. But the Orlando Magic get another big one against the Cleveland Cavaliers, basically knocking them out of the top 6, if you're worried about all that. Actually, wait, before we do that, mid-season tournament.
In-season tournament.
Or
in-season tournament. Close enough.
Whatever. Mid-season tournament. I said what I said. But yeah, no, technically the mid-season is the All-Star break. You're right.
Exactly.
In-season tournament, right? First of all, somebody, and I forget who it is. It might have been a Nick Wright take because, he's the famous Braun defender and all that.
Of course.
First of all, LeBron James is the MVP. Did that make sense to you?
I mean, I guess it's all numbers. You look at the actual tournament games he played. Yeah, he was phenomenal. But again, it's hard sometimes to know what games are tournaments because these tournament games blended in with the regular season. Like the games were only played on Tuesday and Fridays, and it was like certain days of the week and certain times, and then it wasn't until we got to like the semifinals to realize, oh, this is a real tournament. But that being said, like to me, this whole thing was a success mainly because it got a lot more interest for the casuals. This is not made for people like me. Okay, because I'm watching NBA basketball regardless of game 82 or game 13. Okay, this is for the casuals who don't check in the NBA until after football is over in January.
So let's give them a little credit. Christmas is when they really start to check it.
Pretty much, yeah. Christmas weekend, day games, all that stuff. That's for the folks of that nature. Like, I'm not a casual. I'm a diehard. So I'm watching regardless if it's in-season tournament, NBA basketball, regular season game.
No,
whatever.
we know you're watching early. You like to declare team season over 4 games.
I've been known for that a couple times. Yeah, I've been known for that.
Yeah. So I mean, if nothing else, that proves you do watch the games early. But and I'll put it this way: when it comes to fanhood and I'm not calling anybody a diehard in your instance. But the punchline's this: that's awful.
That's awful. It's terrible.
So you decided to answer the other question before I asked it. You see the season tournament. Now you apologize, but you see the in-season tournament as a win. Let me tell you why I agree. Is you mentioned bringing in the casuals, and I get all that, but even if you're a casual who's like, this tournament's stupid, you're regularly getting media headlines out there in a time and space in November when the focus is on college football more than anything else. I think what the NBA tried to surgically do is not necessarily compete with the NFL because they know they can't, but rather pounce on the lull in college football. If there's an errant bowl game here or there, that's fine. Those will be played after the finals of this in-season tournament, and that was well scheduled that way. If some of the play-in games don't really get noticed, at least you're getting the headlines and getting the sports talk and the media folks such as you or I to at least bring it up off to the side on their proverbial shows, right?
Right.
But then, once the Heisman Trophy winners announced, along with it is the MVP and the champion to the in-season tournament. Yeah, I think that makes them relevant. And not only do those things also mark the end of college football, but it sets the table for people to be like, oh, well, there's no college football. Well, what's going on with this in-season tournament? Now, granted, the NFL putting games on Saturdays starting this time of year is also problematic to that, but they don't play on Tuesdays or Wednesdays yet. So to the NBA's credit, they could dominate the weeknight stint for dudes and ladies and people who are looking for that sports action. I dig it.
No, and again, to me, college football for me really ends Thanksgiving weekend because you have the conference championship weekend, of course, was less games to watch on TV, and then you have Section Sunday, of course.
But still, those conference games draw the attention. I think that's
of course, yeah. It does get attention. I'm just saying just the amount of games they have because college football has so many games obviously every Saturday.
But that just means those games get more. They get the extra eyeballs and attention. Like absolutely. With your point being, the NBA is getting the poll. To your point, though, like let's say you're a fan of a G5 college, or a member of the ACC, but then I repeat myself. Boom. And cry harder.
We're still doing that, right? We're still doing that. Yeah. I hate you so much.
No, I was just wanting to hate the ACC at first, and then I remembered you're a Noler, so I had to remind you to cry harder.
I'm still crying a week later, so yeah, here's what it is.
I mean, I can queue up Journey. Anyways,
please don't. I love Journey for record, but
what's the matter? You still traumatized from that stunt I pulled on Huddle Up last week?
You got me good that one.
Where I hit the post when Steve Perry asked you, who's crying now? Did that sting a little bit?
Oh man. Terrible. And I still disagree with the committee, but it is what it is, man. I don't think
you have
for the record though. I know this is off topic real quick. Yeah. That being said, the idea of the school suing the committee and the government, the state government here trying to be in on that, like stop.
You want to hear an argument from me? But I think the in-season tournament obviously did its job to bring more attention. We'll leave that at that. Let's go around the league a little bit more in the name of keeping things somewhat neat and tucked in here, right? There's probably a joke in there somewhere. We'll leave that alone. The Magic beat the Cavs in a tough game. They held the Cavs to under 100 points, which is, nice. But then I look at the sheet and be like, the Cavs missed literally 32 3-pointers in one game. That's an accomplishment. But The reason why I address the Magic here, EJ Christian, is they're a team you've been excited about since the preseason, and you were thinking, well, hey, they could be a top 10 team and sneak into the playoffs via play-in. They're currently the second seed in the damn East.
Yeah.
And with a back-to-back upcoming, if they could somehow sweep the Celtics, not saying it's going to happen, they would then be in position to be the top seed. How big a deal is that, Ernest Christian?
It's a huge deal. I mean, and look, the Magic last couple of years, even with the ineptitude, they've always had a habit of starting the year well. Like first 3 weeks of the year, they do 6-0, 6-2, that kind of thing, and then they fade to oblivion after that. My question was always, can this team sustain what they're doing now?
I think this is a little different than those teams, though.
Exactly. We're now in December now. We're now almost 2 months into the year, and they're still playing good basketball and beating good teams too. On top of that,
they had 12 wins by November.
Yes.
Last year, they had 12 wins in December. They've reset a franchise record in consecutive wins with 9 this season. Whereas previously, I mean, obviously, they got 8 a bunch of times. This is the first time they've gotten 9 players. And oh, by the way, Markelle Fultz has been missing time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that speaks volumes. And again, taking nothing from the Celtics, but I feel like they kind of have identity crisis stuff going on in their minds.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have Porzingis missed a couple games here and there. I mean, the Boston. Look, the Celtics. Their mission is they're a title bus team. Anything less than a championship at this point now is a failure. That's simple. They were in the finals 2 years ago, lost to Golden State in 6 games. And last year, so happened in the series against the Heat. Down 0-3, came back almost to the series and lost game 7. They're on another level now. What Orlando's doing is fantastic. What Orlando's doing is great. At this point, can they sustain this? I mean, right now through 2 months, I mean, why not? They're young, they're talented. You got teams in the East right now that can't seem put together just yet. Milwaukee's pretty good, but continue to.
Yeah. So, no, I heard you running through the East. Yeah, Milwaukee will be a threat. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to argue that. The Sixers are still in play. All of that is still a thing, EJ Christian. But where I feel like I don't think the pressure's on the Magic to be that top-seeded team. They don't have to do that to have a successful season. I don't think that's it. Now, and as we've talked about in the past, when we're talking NFL teams, they don't necessarily have to like they have the wins baked in now in a lot of cases to where if they do, if this team even finishes at the 6th seed going into the playoffs, that's a damn victory in the eyes of many here in Orlando, assuming they keep their expectations managed. I don't think that the Magic have to be a 1 or 2 seed to have a successful season either. And
no.
This is the kind
I think the play-in too also is good enough to also, because again, look at it from a wider scope. Now, obviously, as we're now 2 months in, well, obviously moving the goalposts a bit here now with that, because the fact that they have started off well and through 2 months they've been.
Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not analyzing it like a fan. I'm analyzing like an analyst, something you should do. But
I agree.
But listen, the joking aside, I feel like if they do sneak in, this is the kind of team that could steal around from somebody if they're left to F around. If you F around with the Magic, you find out.
Oh, of course. And it's been some teams already that found out this year already. Good teams also they've beaten already this year that they that they're coming to play. Now, obviously, the difference between an in-season tournament versus the actual playoffs is that you have a 7-game sample.
Right.
Possible 7-game sample for 7-game series. So, but Orlando's they're definitely look, I won't put them as a championship contender just yet. Obviously, clearly a playoff contender at this point. Do I think there'll be a top 6 teams all said and done? I still want to wait another month or so because NBA is a long year. It's a long year. We have to get to April. You have it's a lot of ebbs and flows and the peaks and valleys this season. You get to January, February, and some teams that start great and falling apart by All-Star break. So I want to see more. I want to see how they look in January before I really put my stamp on them as being a top 6 team in the East.
Let's jump over to the West real quick.
Okay.
More surprising, the Minnesota Timberwolves at seed number 1 in their side of the country, or the Suns at 9?
Oh, it's definitely the the Wolves. I did a preview of my podcast, Earnestly podcast, of course. Guys, check it out. Preview, and I was saying, for all the talent they have, the reason why the Wolves to me were not a playoff team and probably not a borderline play-in team is because of the fact that I thought that core of Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns was a core destined to fail because, first of all, you have overpaid Rudy Gobert, number one. You have Karl-Anthony Towns, who identity issues, though, fit issues.
The overpaired Gobert, though, like I felt like that was going to happen no matter what. You don't let it
right
walk.
But the fact they gave 5 picks for the guy, dude. I mean, look, he's a phenomenal defensive player. But you're paying a guy that kind of money. Now, granted, it wasn't his contract. Was it what the contract got in Utah? For a guy that does only one thing great, which is on defense. Granted, it's a great when he does, but still. But thus far, I've been very, very surprised at how they've been, like Orlando, being able to sustain this. And I think what they do actually is sustainable. I thought the problem would have been more internal stuff, because remember last year, at the end of the year last year, with infighting between some of the players and whatnot, and obviously Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns, I'm still worried about that mix, and they still got to make a move to going forward. You may have to move him off the contract because you're paying Rudy Gobert, you got to pay Anthony Edwards very soon, and Karl-Anthony Towns also, it's a big contract. But on the court, they've been really, really good. I'm truly amazed. Phoenix, you can't be shocked because of the injuries. The issue is availability. The big three of Durant, Booker, and Beal has played a total of what? 3 games this year? 3.
Yeah, not great, Pom. No,
not great at all. So that's a situation where when we really can't evaluate that team until we see them play together for a couple of games.
But see, that's the point. And this is why I agree with you that Minnesota is more surprising.
Yeah.
Is whenever you're getting into bed with a concept of your top player being Kevin Durant. And I know there are even times, there was a period where it was popular to say, who's the GOAT? Kevin Durant or LeBron James? Was always stupid, because back when that was still happening, LeBron James had yet to miss any significant time in a season, whereas Durant had several injuries in his history. Anytime Kevin Durant is part of your equation, injuries are a factor. So, no, I'm not surprised they're coming out to a slow start. Now, granted, having everybody missing like that, I would have expected Booker, for example, to get more time. Sure.
Right.
But, the moment you're depending on Durant, you're going to be you're going to have to bake in missed time, right?
Well, the sad part is that Durant's been the one healthy this year, though. It's Booker and Beal. Booker's missed a little less time, but Beal's only played, 4 games this year?
Yeah.
So that's the issue. And because of that, KD had to press more. And for the record, Phoenix had a little stretch there where they were, I think, 11-6 at one point, and won like 8 in a row. And I was saying at that time, KD was probably on my leaderboard for MVP because he was doing well.
Because he was doing the heavy lifting. And I remember that concept. I haven't watched a lot of Suns basketball because we live out east.
But to your point, that's the problem. Because now, if KD has to lean in heavy in that now,
he's
more risk. Exactly. So that's the issue. So Phoenix, like I said, like Orlando, like Minnesota, you want to see more. Want to see these three guys get together. It feels like right now, honestly, that there's a fight for the number 2 seed in the West. Like, to me, I don't give a crap about standings. To me, it's Denver and bust in the West. When it's all said and done, okay?
That's why I'm not asking about, golly, who you like in the West, because the answer is the Joker, and there's no second place.
But the issue. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the issue is missing Murray, and they're still dangerous as hell.
And he's back. He came back just last week. He's phenomenal already. Had a great game last night against Atlanta. The race to be in second place now, because the assumption was, okay, well, it's probably Phoenix, maybe the Lakers, but now you got Minnesota doing what they're doing right now. You got OKC doing what they're doing right now.
Me too, right?
Okay, so there's a little bit of a race here, for who's the team to challenge the Nuggets in the playoffs, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, last time we talked about OKC and what Chet Holmgren's doing and all that. That's they still continue to surprise.
He might be rookie of the year. It's between him and Wemby right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the fascinating part of the Western Conference, that the race is number 2 in the West now is wide open in my opinion. Still.
No, I don't disagree with that in any spot. I mean, it's rough for Wembanyama having to play on the Spurs as quite possibly the worst team, the second worst team if you want to count Detroit. Fine.
Detroit's so bad. They lost 20 in a row. Yeah.
You know, that's anyways. So suffice it to say, there's a lot going on there. I've made the assumption, and we talked about this before going into it, but I'll bring it up here because you kind of asked to talk about it. But I'll word the question in such a fashion to where my attitude is clear. Like, no one's surprised. I shouldn't say no one's surprised. Like, the obvious truth here is that the Warriors dynasty is closed, right? Like, the whole situation with Draymond and Poole has destroyed this franchise. I should say destroyed, has set this franchise back, right?
Partially, yes. I mean, that obviously played a part of what happened last year, which we had them trading Poole to Washington in the offseason, obviously, of course. The issue now is Klay Thompson. He's not the same guy anymore. And, oh, by the way, he's due for a new contract at the end of the year. Where's his value? You know, how does Steph feel about that? Like, Steph Curry is still Steph Curry. He's doing his thing no matter what. But Andrew Wiggins hasn't played well this year.
Right.
Like I said, Klay has played well. Draymond's doing fine. Draymond's doing Draymond. Draymond he's fine.
Including getting suspended, you know.
Yeah, right. I mean, that comes with the package, of course. The problem is that meanwhile, teams have either caught up with them or surpassed them now. You know, you have the Kings now doing their thing. You have the OKC Thunder, Minnesota.
Teams I don't necessarily pass them. The way I'd put it is that they're building while the Warriors are declining and still trying to find a way to react.
Right. Well,
it's plausible that Klay Thompson could turn it around, though I don't expect it.
Right.
It's plausible that Wiggins could play better, though I don't expect it. And to your point, for now, what Steph is doing, like, you can be a great shooter and have a 2-decade career in the league. Like Ray Allen is a big part of your heat, of course, you know. Right. So
no, I'm not ready to shut the door completely on the Warriors dynasty being done because, of course, they make a move for another player, another A+ player. That changed everything, of course, in the dynamic, of course. But I do think that if this team currently constructed, yes, it's over. Because I don't see them better than right now. And forget the standings. I'm talking about what I see. Lakers are better. Nuggets are better. Wolves are about to be better.
Yeah, the standings back. We're like maybe a third or a fourth into an 82 game.
Their rival Kings were right there last year, 7-game series in first round of playoffs. I will take the Kings over them right now, currently constructed. That's 6 teams. Dallas on level right now. The Pelicans, if Zion can get his weight together and you know, because that's a really good team in New Orleans, they're probably on level, if not better than them. So you look at, I just mentioned 7 teams right there, 7 to 8 teams right there. Okay, you still got Memphis once draws back, you know, next week or next 2 weeks. You know, Golden State is not ascending anymore, and I can't even say the climax. They're descending now. So unless you get Wiggins play better, right? Unless you get Wiggins play better, Klay can find a way to go back to the old bag again. They're no longer a championship team anymore, right? Currently constructed. They need to be movie made or something like that because I think this team right now constructed is not it.
Let's get to some NFL picks, buddy.
All right, let's do it.
First off, this is a game that I'm going to be interested to see your reaction. The Chargers head over to Las Vegas to battle the Raiders. I think we finally found one where you might pick your boy Staley. In Los Angeles there. Who you got, EJ Christian?
Oh, no.
He's going home.
No. Herbert's out for the year, man. I think the Chargers have quit on Staley. I think Staley's days are numbered. They could fire him now they wanted to, but I guess they're not going to do that. But give me the Raiders to win this game. Honestly.
You know what? The Antonio Pierce defense is a strong one by year. I'll join it. I got the Raiders as well. Vikings head to Cincinnati to battle the Bengals.
Huge game. Bengals are playing very good football now. Huge game. Jake Browning has been really, really good. Give me the Bengals, man. I'm riding strength still. Bengals.
Yeah, it's not close. I'm very disappointed by what's happened to Josh Dobbs lately.
Yeah. He may even start on Saturday, so who knows?
I don't even know where to take that. The Steelers head to Indianapolis to battle the Colts. 2 7-6 teams. Huge playoff implications. EJ Christian, huge.
Has a lose town feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it really does. Give me the Colts. They're sending.
Just on the sole reason alone of DeForest Buckner versus Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah, I too have the Colts. The Broncos head over to Detroit to battle the Lions. EJ Christian, who you got?
This is a huge game. Both teams here, especially Denver. For Denver.
Game.
I'll go Detroit because they're at home. But if Denver wins this game, they're smooth sailing to the playoffs, in my opinion. Their schedule gets cake after this game. So if they can win this game, they can possibly win 11 games this year. And Sean Payton maybe coach of the year talks. Who knows?
The only reason he'd get coach of the year is if the Browns miss the playoffs. We'll get to that later. Right. You know what? I'm going to pick the Broncos.
Rusty.
I feel like the Lions are in a funk. And I'm at this point, I'm going to scoff at Goff. I picked the Lions to win 9 games all year, so why not? I'll double down. Okay. The Fraud Cons head over to Carolina to beat the Panthers. EJ Christian.
Shoot, Falcons can win this game. They're gonna have problems, but yeah, consider the Falcons.
Yeah, I think the Falcons slice Bryce as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears head to Cleveland. Anybody? Okay, great.
Joe Flacco. Flacco's back.
Yeah,
Flacco, give me the Browns. Bears look pretty good last couple weeks, though. We'll say they look pretty decent. Not for nothing.
Flacco traps the Bears. Moving on. No, they haven't looked decent. They just look better than the other team. There's a difference.
I mean, beat Detroit. You beat Detroit. I mean, come on. You know.
No, I'm more talking about that Monday night trash of 12-10 over the Vikings.
Still over that stench yet? Oh God.
No, I'm really not. The Bucks head to Green Bay to battle in the tundra of Lambeau Field against the Packers. Who you got?
Another huge game here. I'll take Green Bay, even though that lost against the Giants on Monday Night Football. I think the Packers are still in the driver's seat to get a wild card. So give me the Packers.
This is definitely an element of who do you trust, and I actually love trusting Jordan more than anything the Bucks have to offer.
And weather also. It's cold in Lambeau now, so
and there must be something in the atmosphere. You're right. Yeah. The Jets head to Miami to battle EJ's Dolphins. Who you got?
Huge game for the Dolphins here. In fact, I'll go so far as to say it's a must-win for the Dolphins because if they lose this game to a division rival,
it's a must-win if they want the first seed. We're going to qualify that so you don't look stupid on my show.
I'll say this, though. This is why I qualify as that, though. They lose this game, 9-5. The last 3 games are against the following. Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo.
Yeah, that's a tough rap. I agree. And by the way, not for nothing, I think if it comes down to the Bills needing a win to get to the playoffs in Week 18, I think the Bills will win that football game over the Dolphins. But that's just me. Let's get there first. I have the Fins supplanting Zach Wilson as a one-hit wonder, getting his 300-yard game against the Texans last week.
I got Miami also. I got Miami's record. I didn't see my pick, but Miami.
Right on. I thought you said Miami, but now we know. The Giants head to New Orleans to battle the Saints. EJ Christian.
Oh God, my actual team here, Giants, of course.
Allegedly,
they don't do well in New Orleans historically. But if there's
that's true.
But if there's a year they could probably eke out a win, go Giants. Screw it, go Giants. Go Homer this one.
Homer. After an emotional win on a short week against the Packers, I have the Saints finishing the job here. What can I say? The Texans battle the Titans. Are you going to be dumb enough to pick the Titans in this game?
It's definitely an injury report game for me. I think CJ will play the game, though. Give me the Texans.
And even if he doesn't, it doesn't matter. I, too, have the Texans in Tennessee.
You got Davis Webb winning Tennessee. Okay, cool.
There you go. Yeah, I do. It's not like he hasn't done it before. Anyways, the Chiefs battle the Pats. EJ Christian, how do you think the Pats will react after an emotional Thursday night win over the?
How the Chiefs react after an emotional loss to Buffalo?
Yeah,
literally. No, give me KC here. I need a big bounce back here. Give me KC to win this game easily.
Yeah, no, you as a Chiefs fan absolutely need a bounce back.
Yeah, of course.
You will go with KC. Golden Thanos, a.k.a. the 49ers, battles the Cardinals. I call them that because this win is inevitable. Don't you agree?
Of course. Come on, best team in football.
Commanders versus the Rams. EJ Christian.
Give Rams here. Give Rams.
Yeah, I don't think that's a stretch at all. No.
Yeah.
Let's see. These last 3 games are interesting. The Cowboys head to Buffalo to battle your Bills, EJ Christian. The former Ralph Wilson Stadium, by the way.
I can see a letdown factor for Dallas here a little bit.
Absolutely.
You know what? Oh, man.
Do it.
It's in Buffalo, right?
It's in the former Ralph Wilson Stadium. Yes.
Give me the Bills. Give me the Bills here in a close game.
Do it. You know why I'm telling you to do it? Because I'm going to as well. I see Josh Allen getting 2 wins in a row, and the Cowboys making Jim cry again. The Ravens. At least they're going to make the playoffs. I'll give them that much credit. The Ravens head over to the Everbank Stadium in Duval County to battle the Jacksonville Jaguars. EJ Christian.
You'll be there, of course, right?
I will be there on Sunday night. That's
all right. Letdown field here too for the Ravens, right? Give me Jags.
I don't dislike the pick. Here's the thing. This is one where you need the injury report because last week they played against the Browns without 2 starting quarters and Joe Flacco crushed them. Falaransu Fatukasi is their star nose tackle that nobody talks enough about because they talk about Josh Allen, and rightly so. However, the reason why I mentioned Foley Fatukasi is because if they're going to stop the run, he is the key. When he's there, think Trent Williams for the Niners, except on defense for the Jags, buddy, okay? If he's not there, any team can run the hell over the Jags, and Lamar Demetrius Jackson will do just that. I have the Ravens on the road, putting the Dolphins,
Jaguars,
reminding the Dolphins of how big the loss was this past Monday to the Titans.
Oh, wow.
And then lastly, Monday night, not a bad Monday night game this week, actually. The Eagles travel to Seattle to battle the Seahawks. Ernest Christian.
Give me Eagles. I don't think it'll be a competitive game, though. Seattle needs to win bad. But the Eagles, even if the loss to Dallas, they do their job. They should still win the division. And if Sanford has a more hiccup, they win the number 1 seed in the NFC anyway. So give me the Eagles here. They lose this game, though. Pat Meter goes way sky high.
Yeah, and rightly so. I have the Eagles winning. I think this is a bad matchup for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
This will threaten my prediction of them getting 10 wins and being second place in the NFC West. One of those things may still happen should they lose. It would obviously them being second in the NFC West because math. But yeah, I have the Eagles closing that out as well. And that will close out this edition of the Student of the Game. Ernest Christian, tell the people.
Yes, Earnestly podcast across all podcast catchers. Check it out. Especially my YouTube page, guys. We're nearing 300 subscribers. We're about 13 away. So check it out at youtube.com/Ernest Christian for all the content there, all my podcasts, clips and shows. I do little video, things on Unfiltered and all that, video topic centric stuff. So check it out there. A lot of activity on that YouTube page.
Yes, and you can always put it on slow motion when EJ Christian's talking too fast, like he's in
of course
for the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Anyway, of course, I am Kyle Nash, the Student of the Game. You can find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Instagram as the same, the SOTG. Find me on Threads as well, the SOTG. Check me out on Facebook as a Student of the Game. Check out the Duval Dive this Friday, 11:15, with my guy, Travis Holmes of BigCatCountry.com. That's going to be a fun time as we finish up analyzing the Browns game while I hold Travis's beer as he cries into it. And then we talk about the possibility of the bounce back from for the Jags, rather, against the Ravens on December 17th. Plus, look out for my work on the Jaguar Report. I wrote an article today on why Jags fans need to stop freaking panicking this past week's game. I'm not going to tell you why. Read the damn article.
Exactly.
And then, of course, my work covering the Orlando Magic with A7BN Sports, as well as my work with the 3-point conversion. Well, I will be not only cover the Jags and give post-game interviews on their YouTube channel, the 3-point conversion YouTube channel, that is. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I will be covering the Cure Bowl this weekend and hopefully more bowls to come. I've submitted my request. Let's see if it gets accepted. But then of course, upcoming, I will be also at the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa on December 22nd, watching UCF do battle against Georgia Tech for the black and gold banneret. So check out all of the above. An honor, joy, and privilege to have everybody in. Thanks, of course, again to Ernest Julius Christian, even though that's allegedly not his real name. And of course, to my guy,
slightly close,
slight game. And of course, to my guy Drew Gluchov for coming in and talking some college football stuff with the Heisman Trophy and all that. But until next time, everyone, class dismissed.